Hi, everyone. I'm thrilled to be joined by longtime site member and much loved Terry Manion. For over 20 years, Terry was co-owner and vice president of Meridican. He recently retired. Actually, he rewired. More on that to come. Today, he's busy with the Site Foundation, consulting, and playing some golf. Welcome, Terry. So nice to have you with us.
Thanks, Giselle. Happy to be here.
So let's start off with first question here. So I know that you like paying it forward, and that's important to you. Instead of a retirement party, your wife Tracy planned a rewirement party, which is such a cool concept. I just love that. So I would like to know, what did you rewire, and how does a scholarship play into it?
Okay. Well, the rewirement term came from someone we met with who sort of helps, people retire. So it was a friend of ours that suggested that I chat with her, and Susan uses that term. She said, "Are you just going to never work again?" And I said, "Well, probably not." And she said, "Well, we like to call it a rewirement." So that's where Tracy stole that for our little party back in December. And the entire thing was a surprise to me. I thought I was getting on a Zoom call, I think with the kids. We have two girls, and in their 30s, and for whatever reason we were getting together, and I bought that, and then there were, I don't know, 50 to 60 people on the call, and it was embarrassing. Yes, I'm not big on tributes, but the one nice surprise was that Tracy had contacted Ryerson, who Meridican had been very involved with over the years, and had set up a scholarship in my name. And we since then added to that. So it'll be an ongoing endowment that will hopefully live forever. So as far as the rewirement part, I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute as to what I'm doing with Inspire Consulting. But the Ryerson connection was big because Duff Shaw, who many watching this may know the name, or probably he was a professor of yours, and I go way back. And then Judy Healy, who is the current professor on the incentive travel program at Ryerson, has become a friend and someone that I would go to and speak at the classes, not annually, but for several years I did go and speak to the class. And as a result, Meridican hired, I think the latest total was, when we sold the company, we were close to 30, 32 people, and not quite half, but close to half were either evening Ryerson graduates or full hospitality and incentive travel graduates. So, and most stayed with us for a long, long time. And those that moved on to other things have done phenomenally well. But Meridican was their first job in the industry. And, we owe a lot to Ryerson and Judy and Duff. So it just felt right for Tracy and I to give back and provide an incentive travel scholarship to, there's certain criteria around it, but a student each year will win that, and it'll help them with whatever they do going forward, or tuition for the next year, whatever it might be.
Well, that is just fantastic. I think mentoring and just, really nurturing the new generation, the next generation that will be coming behind us is just fantastic. So congratulations on the scholarship. Fantastic.
Thanks. It was a great idea by Tracy. I never expected anything like that, and I'm happy that we've done that.
So has the first scholarship been awarded to someone this year?
No, that was in December, so they were midstream, and it takes a while to sort of set up the criteria of it all. So it's been announced at Ryerson, and it will be someone from this current curriculum of 2021, 22 that will earn that scholarship.
Fantastic.
And then it'll be an annual.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That is so exciting, having a scholarship in your name. So will you ever teach, do you think, at Ryerson?
No, I don't.
Or guest speak?
So. Perhaps, yeah, perhaps on the guest speak side. Judy always stays in touch, so that could happen. But no, teaching, no. I think that takes a real skill and experiences is a skill, but teaching is a different one. And I believe that to those that are really good at it. And I'll drop in for a cameo if they ever need me.
Yeah, wonderful. So you're president of Site Foundation. Can you share some highlights and what you've been working on with Site Foundation?
Sure. Well, I've been a trustee on the foundation since 2017 and president this year in 2021. So our presidency is a 1 year, much like Site Global. And the iteration of words that I used this year was purpose, priorities, and passion. Or promotion, sorry, it wasn't passion, purpose, priorities, and promotion. And the purpose part of it was to reestablish amongst ourselves and within the incentive travel community what the Site Foundation was all about, why we were started, and why we exist. Because there's always some confusion around Site Global and Site Foundation. What's the difference?
Right.
Where the Site Foundation is an American-based charitable organization that allows us to take in funds, and those that provide those funds receive credit as a charitable foundation. So that was started long time ago. The priorities were, each year, each president has their own sort of agenda, but I really wanted us to take a serious look at what the foundation priorities should be and, should continue to be, so that, from Karina Bauer last year, myself this year, Kevin Regan next year, and then on beyond that, there's a consistency. And so Rebecca Wright, I don't know if she might be watching this, you're great chapter leader and executive director of Site. And I have led, and Aoife Delaney with Site Global president, have led the teams on a real strategy focus this year, where, both the board and the Site Foundation trustees fully understand why each of us exists and where we work well together and where we have our own independent mandates. So that's really been a big focus for me this year, sort of resetting. Karina, God bless her, took us through the COVID year, which, a lot of what she had planned was very similar to what I'm doing, and she just didn't get a chance to do it because we were patching holes in a boat last year, like everyone was. So, one of the other focuses was getting back to research. And Selena Sinclair has been running our research committee and doing a phenomenal job along with that whole team. Corporate Insights, which Destination Canada has supported immensely, was launched in April. The second version of that will be coming out in white papers very soon. We've also, as I mentioned from the stage at Site Classic, we've also partnered with SMU, Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas, to begin a research endeavor where the MBA students will be interviewing C-suite level, director level clients. So not speaking to ourselves, not DMCs, third parties, hoteliers, tourist boards, but actually talking to those that use incentive travel. Without them, we're not in industry. So we really wanted to hear from that corporate world as to why they use incentive travel and what the power of incentive travel is, because one of the mandates of Site Global, and we support that, is to advocate for the business case of incentive travel, so people understand why we do what we do, not what we do. I mean, the what is fun, flying to Rome or Paris or wherever we may be going, but it's the why. So that research will hopefully drive home the real reasons for incentive travel, and provide some tips maybe for those that are currently doing it as to how they might be able to improve. And perhaps more importantly, those that have always been on the fence and wonder exactly why they should or how they should use incentive travel, they'll hear from their peers, not from, Terry Manion at Creative Group or Meridican and selling them, because I've got a vested interest in selling them on incentive travel. I want them to hear from another director of marketing or CMO saying how it's moved their business, so that they then go, hey, so this is something we should be doing, which will create business for all of us, and move the needle forward for incentive travel. So we're quite proud of that endeavor this year. those are kind of two of the highlights. We continue, to fundraise so that we can support site, support the membership, support chapters through grants, scholarships through the David Riddell Scholarship, etc. We're as Rebecca aptly framed it this year, that Site Global they're on stage and we're backstage. Site Foundation is the one raising the funds and creating the research and things to support incentive travel, and the board is out there, with the chapters, etc. So we've always kind of been in the background, and that works. But we really wanted this year to, and continuing to tell our story so that people understand what the foundation is doing. So we've got big plans for next year. Kevin's going to be great, and I'll pass that baton in January, and away we'll go.
Well, the corporate initiative, I think, is brilliant. And, planners, suppliers, we want to hear from our corporate clients in a way that's not, sort of in a sales type of atmosphere. So I think having this research paper is just, it's going to be so valuable to all of us in the industry.
Yeah, we hope so, and we believe it will be. And the SMU connection is fantastic. The students, I hesitate to even call them students because they're about to graduate from their MBAs, and they are sort of the cream of the crop. They've been amazing to work with. They grasp what incentive travel is very quickly once we explain it from a business term, and they'll be amazing at doing these interviews, which should commence in the next probably 10th of October, mid-October.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the relationship that Site Foundation has with IRF?
Well, Site Foundation, IRF, and FICP for the past 3 years, I believe, have annually partnered and used Oxford Economics to create our incentive travel industry index. Typically, it would be midsummer, late summer that we would put the index together. You've probably responded to our requests over the years for information. And then we would launch that around IMEX time, IMEX in Vegas, and then use that data, parse it out in different ways and use it at different chapters and different events. So that's the main partnership, is that IRF, Site Foundation, and FICP joined together 3 years ago. Site Foundation has done the incentive index for quite some time. I'm going to guess around 10 to 11 years. But in 2017, 2018, we kind of took a look at it and went, is it really accomplishing what we want? And we continue to look at that. But with the support of IRF and FICP, we were able to take it sort of to a different level, bring Oxford Economics into it, and expand it a little bit. So it's been quite successful. We'll continue to analyze it to see how relevant it is, but we expect that will continue.
Right. Well, thank you for everything you do with Site Foundation and Site Global. How long have you been a member?
The key, Giselle, is to delegate. You set up really good committees. Set up really good committees, and then you just step back and let them work. That's worked well. I
haven't learned that yet.
It took me a while.
So how long have you been a site member?
There's kind of, I should have looked this up because I knew you'd probably ask me.
Ballpark.
I'd say 15 to 20 years most recently. And then I was a member a long time ago, and then raising kids, working in the business with Anthony, there wasn't the time there to Anthony Byron, for those who don't know who I'm referencing. There just wasn't time for it. So I gave it up probably for about 10 years. So I've been in the industry for 36. I would say the first 5 I was a site member, then probably gave it up for a while, and then, maybe 5 or 6 years, and then picked it up again. So in total, close to 25, 30 years.
30 years.
Yeah.
Terrific. So now you're running Inspire Consulting, and I'd like to hear a little more about what that is and what is the focus?
Yeah, it's something that I haven't done a lot with yet, and part of that was my rewirement. It was effective April 30th, and for those of you that golf, you'll know that that's a key time to get out on the course. So, and really just practically, I needed to step back, after so long of being as busy as I was, and just sort of rethink what I wanted to do with it. But I've started to engage in that a little bit more lately, and that's the real niche, if you will, is to speak to small to medium-sized businesses when they need help kind of going to that next level. And whether that be, HR type discussions, that wouldn't be me that would lead those, but I'd find them a partner that, I do have some contacts there that would help. But directly with me would be more, perhaps it's time to adjust sales compensation, restructure that. And that would include incentives, of course. So it certainly would be encouraging that at any level. I mean, a mid-sized company is not going to be the ones that, we hear a whole lot about, but incentive travel or incentives in general are still valuable and driving motivation. So, I would recommend that to them if it fits. But really just listening as a former, a small business owner, that, Anthony and I grew the business to a point that it was desired by Creative Group. So I think we did a decent job there, and just, add that experience. We scraped our knees a lot. So if I can assist someone in not doing that, that's really what the goal is. So either to set them up with a partnership, whether it be a small accounting firm, an HR firm, or conversations with myself around sales compensation and sales structure. That's kind of the aim of it. I've got a couple things already started, and they've basically come from referrals. So it won't be a super active pursuit because there's still part of retirement in that rewirement. So I do want to keep a little bit of that free for grandkids, Tracy, and well, she continues to work, so it makes it a lot easier for me.
Yeah, that's great. So as we all know, we've been dealing with COVID. We're still dealing with COVID. Is there anything you focused on that you may not have otherwise during COVID?
Yeah, I kind of split COVID up into a few chunks. Initially, the Meridican team had just moved into the SM&I offices. I use those two former names for those people that know it, into what was Creative Group Canada. They, our team had moved their boxes in on a weekend, and by that following Tuesday or Wednesday, we had the stay-at-home order. So the team never really got together. And then all the disruption of COVID from non-travel and all that. So that first 7 to 10 months, working with LA McPherson, and we really were working hard to keep people employed as much as we could, keep clients in the fold. It was a heck of a time to lead a team, and it was not something any of us saw coming, and anything that we expected. So that stretch, that was the focus, was just all business all the time. And that's not healthy, but it was sort of, in my DNA. So since then, I think a little bit more focus on myself, and, getting back into average shape has been a focus. I bought a guitar. I think it's the third one I bought. I'm hoping that this one actually is better than the other two, because they didn't learn very quickly. So that's something that I want to pursue. And then, as I've talked about, the golf, try to improve that. That hasn't been all that effective yet, but I'm working on that. But I can't say that there was any real earth-shattering change other than what was thrust upon us. And then since then, with retirement, you do kind of step back rewirement, you kind of step back and think of, the future and what you're going to do for yourself. So I don't think there's a whole lot of enlightening in that answer, but that's kind of where I was.
But it's great. You have a lot of interests. So the guitar, is that just playing, or do you sing as well?
Well, I've always sung. How well, I don't know, but that's for others to judge. And, you know, growing up, I had a good buddy that played, so I always had him by my side, and it didn't matter. But I've always wanted to play. Just the discipline to stay with it when you're busy with other things was really hard. So, you know, now I see that I'll have that time. Quite honest, I've been probably using the excuse of the summer being, oh, I want to do other things. But, you know, as we see by how dark it gets or how early it gets dark now, and we're heading into the winter, you know, there'll be more time to do that, and that'll be a focus for the next 6 months or so.
So what's your go-to song?
Well, it will be some probably. I'm not far enough along now to have a go-to song. If I can pull 3 chords together at once, I'm good. But it'll be. I'm a big Jim Croce fan, Harry Chapin fan, James Taylor fan. So it'll be, you know, those will be the things that I'll try to learn, because those are the things that I always sang when I probably had too many beer.
All right. Well, we're going to book you for one of our Site Canada webinars.
I'll have my people contact your people.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, that's yes, it's interesting how much you had going on with the business, and just the timing of that with all these people not being able to go to their new office yet. So I'm sure that was quite stressful at the time.
Yeah, for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. So with so many years in the incentive business, what words of wisdom can you share with our Site Canada members?
Well, I'll do a small site advertisement first, and then just more of a I'll you know, think of sort of what the general question there. But site is one of those things that when everything's great, it's fun to be part of. It's some great education. There's some great contacts you can make. But when things go awry in the industry, or even personally, if you know, for whatever reason you're out of a position or whatever, it's that community that site creates, and I think have done a far better job of in the last 10 to 15 years than even before that. Is who you lean on, who you talk to, whether it be, you know, in a time of stress, or whether it just be for information. You know, in Canada in particular, I think we're really good at sharing, even with competitors, you know, just giving somebody a call and saying, hey, I'm dealing with this. How did you deal with it? Or even not so much destination stuff, because you may be bidding against them, but just about running the business. I always found that most of the competitors were very open to conversations like that. But, you know, to find out information right now, going through COVID, who do you reach out to? You reach out to those that you've probably met through site to say, hey, what's it really like in your country? You know, so you're calling a DMC or DMO or somebody, a hotelier that you know, to say, has anything changed on the protocols? I'm reading this. Is that really true? I mean, you just have to stay on top of stuff, and that's who you're phoning. So building that network and that community in site is something that, you know, you may not see it initially, but it is such a valuable tool for your career and for your business. And I think as far as the years are concerned, they flew by because it's a great industry and it's a lot of fun. But, you know, because there have been so many years in that, you know, 36 years of just the incentive side, not, you know, 40 some in the travel business. You know, 1985, when I joined the group travel coordinators, Don Bromett, which became Partners in Performance, which is where we met, Giselle.
That's right.
You know, those were the heady days. I mean, the budgets were great. Everything was great in the 80s. But then 89, you know, the stock market crash. And that hit businesses hard. And, you know, we were affected as a result as an industry. Then you move into the 90s, you know, you've got another stock market issue later in the 90s, a bit of a recession there. We're coming out of that, things are looking great. We have 9/11. And then following 9/11, we have the 2008, 2009, again, market adjustment, major adjustment. And then, you know, we bounce from that. We have some pretty heady years and COVID. So what I'm saying is we're still here. things do bounce back. It can be a roller coaster, but guess what? Every industry is. So stick with it. There's going to be, things are never as good as they feel because there's always probably something coming, and that's life. But also, they're never quite as bad as they might feel at the time either, because there's always that light at the end of the tunnel. And I really think that the incentive travel industry has shown that through COVID. The optimism, the pulling together that has happened in the last year and a half is, incredible. And we are starting to see that light shine a little brighter at the end. And so as far as the wisdom of it, hang in there. It's a great industry. And this isn't new. I'm old enough to have seen at least 5 disruptions to the industry, and we always bounce back. And to be quite honest, bounce back stronger. And grew to, I'm not talking about my business or our business, I'm talking about the industry has grown coming out of each of those setbacks. So we'll continue to do that and rely on each other.
We are a resilient bunch. That's no question about that.
For sure. Yeah.
Do you feel that moving forward that there'll be a lot of companies that will realize that incentives, travel and rewards are so important that we'll see things on the upswing with maybe clients who have never done incentives?
Yeah, I would hope so. I think COVID has certainly changed a lot of ways you look at your business, you look at your employees, and motivation is so key, because one of the things about incentive travel, again, I'm talking about how long I've been in it, but the argument against doing it so often was, well, things aren't going that well right now, we can't afford it. And I would stop them and say, in fact, this is when you should be doing it. And not, well, continue doing it in good times too, because people need to be rewarded, but providing motivation, sometimes it isn't as necessary because things are rolling and people are happy and things are going along. But when things are a little bit tough, it's that incentive of whatever type of incentive it might be, but in our case, incentive travel, just gets that little extra push out of whatever way you want to use it, whether it be in sales, whether it be an HR initiative, whether it be a safety initiative. There's lots of ways to use incentive travel. And, I would hope that this reawakening of how important staff is, how important your dealer networks, your distributors will have people step back and go, hey, this is a tool that we can use and we'll keep the team together when things get tough.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well,
plus once they read the corporate insights research and the SMU research, everybody will do it.
Yes, exactly. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us today, Terry. It's been really interesting to learn what you've been doing, and just with the Site Foundation and then with your own company, but also your great interests. And I know we'll see you out in the golf course when we have our next site golf tournament.
We'll see you at Site Education Day too.
Yes, that's right. We have a few things coming up, so
yeah,
looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Giselle.
Okay. Take care.
Take care.